Hey, Lisa. Thank you
Hello.
so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
I'm Vivien Lewit, just in case others are watching us, the global head of artists at YouTube. And I'm joined by Lisa Mishra, who's an incredible singer-songwriter, has a really unique career and background, history on YouTube. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. You guys are where it all began. So it's always like amazing to talk about somebody from YouTube about my journey.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah.
We also have just met, and we have a wild connection in common.
Crazy.
Here we are in Mumbai, India, and we learned that
We overlap in Chicago.
we overlap in Chicago,
Which is crazy.
Tell me about Chicago. Tell me about the beginning.
Yeah, sure. So I started off in Chicago. I was raised there pretty much my whole life until I moved here. And I always wanted to be a musician. And I did not come from a music background. I didn't have anybody in our family who had done the arts. So I had no knowledge of like how to be a career musician.
Right.
So the only exposure I had was like at school in chorus or singing. And through that, I made a lot of friends in our neighboring high schools. So all of the kids who did music in these spaces knew each other. And one of them, which was the first time I ever walked into a professional recording studio, was Chance the Rapper. So I got to work with Chance.
Mr. Bennett.
Yes, Chancellor Bennett.
Chancellor Bennett.
Very kindly allowed me into his space for quite a few songs.
And you had known each other from
From high school, the same circles, because Chance was in Kids These Days.
Right.
And he wasn't in Kids These Days. He was working with Kids These Days. Vic and Macy and everybody was in Kids These Days. And we'd had overlap over the years. So he needed a musician. He needed a singer for one track on Coloring Book. And they called me and said, hey, could we have you come in and do some stuff? And I remember I totally lowballed him. And I was just like, oh, our friend Chance from high school, how major could this be? And I walk into Chicago Recording Company, which is this like legendary studio where Lady Gaga and Michael Jackson records have been made. Yeah. And I was like, okay, what happened since high school? Because it had been, 5 years. I was like, Chance had a big glow up. So we made this song, and it ended up becoming All We Got, which was the first track on the album featuring Kanye West. So yeah, the first time I ever worked with real equipment in a real studio was for Chance the Rapper, who you know from
my husband, Peter.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's so crazy.
Yeah. So
crazy.
Your husband and I have definitely been on some emails about legal and publishing, I'm sure.
For sure. That must have been so exciting. And at that time, were you already?
I was already YouTubing. And my YouTube channel, I started making YouTube videos in 2007 when basically a year and a half.
Gosh.
Yeah, a
That
year
was
and
the
a half
beginning.
into YouTube existing.
Yes.
I was already a creator.
We just had the literally.
I know,
20
isn't that
anniversary
crazy?
was just last week.
18 years for me. I started when I was like an infant. And my parents basically were like, you can't.
You really were very
Yeah, I was very young. And my mom, because of that, said, like, you don't know the permanence of the internet. She had some foresight back then.
Yes.
So she was just like, just don't show your face. But if you want to sing, you can make videos without your face. And then when you're like a little older, you can make videos with your face. So the first couple of years of YouTube covers I made, they're these like slideshows.
What was the first cover you?
Okay, to be fair, this means I scouted her way before, the last few years bandwagoning. It was See You Again by Miley Cyrus.
Really?
I was like, she's my artist. Yeah, so I did a cover of Miley Cyrus, and it took 11 years after that for my career to happen. But throughout all that time, I'd been steadily building this population of listeners and viewers on YouTube. So by the time I got discovered, I already had 100,000 subscribers.
Wow.
Yeah. And most of that actually came during the Chance the Rapper years.
Okay.
Because I got really, really into putting out videos regularly between 2015 to 2018.
Okay.
So it was sort of gathering its momentum.
Yep.
And then by the time I stepped into record for Chance, I sort of knew how to be on a mic because I was DIYing that at home.
Yeah.
But nowhere near that scale.
Wow. And you already had 100,000 subscribers at that.
Yeah, it was great. And I'll tell you, the reason was very simple. For the initial 8 years that I was making videos, I didn't realize there was an entire population of Indian viewership at my disposal. So I was making covers and songs in English.
Okay.
And that means I was one in an ocean.
Right.
But at the time, nobody was singing in Hindi.
Okay.
So I was one of the first people who were starting to blend Hindi and English together and making Hindi language songs and putting out this content. So the early subscribership was pretty high the minute I started making Hindi cover
And you had
videos.
fans here already.
Yeah, that I never got to interact with.
It's fascinating. You know, we thematically, I think, a lot of conversations with artists, and thematically, one of the things that comes up is how do you differentiate yourself today?
Mm-hmm.
And today, we'll go back, 8 years or so.
Yeah.
Because with YouTube and platform,
The world's opened up.
The world's opened up, and you're out there. And the beautiful thing about YouTube, it's why I joined YouTube, was that artists could build their own path, and their own destiny. That they could avail themselves of the record label system, or they could remain independent. And it just opened the door to an audience, and an audience all over the world. Look, you were uploading videos, and you had fans in India. You were in Chicago.
Yeah. It's crazy. And for 10 years, basically.
Crazy.
For a decade, I had been making content that was reaching another continent without, them being able to be anywhere near me.
And it's crazy. And
Truly global.
it's wild. And your strategy at that time was a combination of differentiation through merging Hindi language into what you were performing.
Yeah.
But also strategically uploading consistently.
Exactly.
Is that your
That was
pattern?
exactly it. I was realizing this uptick happened when I started singing in Hindi. So I was like, okay, well, you can't lose steam now, because for 7 years, nobody was watching. And I was like, all right, so now I've figured out how I stand apart, and I'm going to just make sure I do this very, very consistently. And that also sort of incentivized me to make better content.
Yeah.
Put a little bit of my investment in the equipment, in the lighting, in the sound mixing, and it made me like a bona fide music producer in that time.
Yeah.
Because you had to learn.
Right.
And it wasn't about like you had to learn to keep up. You have to learn to improve yourself.
Right.
And because now you have 50,000, 70,000 people, you have to give them good content. You kind of owe them that as an exchange.
So did you feel that was like an expectation?
Totally, but not in any sort of real pressure other than I maintained one thing, which I still do. I don't put out content of me lip syncing ever. I think the authenticity that they all really connected with was that it was always a record and just go one take.
Yeah.
It might be 100 takes,
but
it'll never be comped together. It'll be that one clean 3.5 minutes.
Okay.
And there's a really great beauty in that, because all of my viewers and subscribers loved mistakes. And it was kind of a cute Easter egg in every video. They're like, oh, she's going to mispronounce this word. At 3:17, she says this. It should have been this. But I never took offense to that, because I was like, well, I'm a human and you're seeing me make human mistakes.
Yeah.
So I really, that was the only sort of rule I had for myself. I still do, which is if I'm recording a video of myself singing, it should just be live. And whatever you do in post is whatever you do in post, but the singing itself should feel organic. And they got so used to seeing me over now 18 years creating a song in my bedroom that like we still have this initial link. At any of these events, if I do get stopped, there's a whole like entire group of people who are like, well, I knew your music before you got discovered because I was one of the original subscribers on YouTube. I was like, that is wild. When I hear that, I'm like, yeah, it's been a while. I've been at it.
but the authenticity thing is so critical.
Yeah, of course.
I think fans can see through the fake stuff.
Absolutely.
And the authenticity thing has always worked.
Yeah, and it feels conversational and it feels very personal.
Exactly.
They're a part of it
that you experience. We
Yeah.
always talk about that.
and they're rooting for you when you evolve. They're like, okay, cool. She gave us 4K. Wow. We used to be at like 188p.
It's good you're doing 4K.
Yes.
Because do you know how many people are watching YouTube in their living rooms?
Yeah, it's
on their
wild.
TV screens?
That's what I do. I consume all of my like video content of podcasts on my TV. Yeah.
On average, over 1 billion hours a day in YouTube watch time is happening on TV screens in living room. It's
You guys are still the long format kings.
unbelievable.
That's why.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But people are watching YouTube Shorts on their TVs also. Okay, going back to a question I had, because a few times you've mentioned before I got discovered.
Mm-hmm.
What was discovery for you?
It was
what
wild.
changed?
Yeah, it was really wild. So, couple quick facts about me. I never spoke Hindi before I moved to India 7 years ago. So I was just like winging it and didn't really know the words or the meanings. Right. And that's why there would be like mispronunciations or, incorrect grammar all over.
Yeah.
But I had to learn as I created how to deliver a song in Hindi. Mm-hmm. And I did that for 2 years. Around the time I was working on stuff with Chance in 2016 is exactly when that uptick happened in my content. I started singing in Hindi in 2014, the last year of college. Okay. And I was like, okay, I'm seeing some people paying attention. 2015, really, they were paying attention. By 16, I had an audience. And that's when I realized I have to learn and put some real effort into the language and continue to push out content in Hindi. In 2018, so now I've been doing this for 3.5, 4 years, was when these producers in India discovered a video of me singing a song from their film, which I'd done a cover. Yeah. So there was a film
producers.
Yes. Okay. The song that they were marketing the film on had just released. And I'd done a cover of it within that first week. Okay. And there was still a month before the film came out. So she was just looking up hashtags related to her film and found this video of me singing guitar and playing her song merged with Let Me Love You by Justin Bieber. Okay. And she was like, well, this is fresh. Right. And it's just me playing guitar in my bedroom. Cool. So then I get a DM in my inbox, which was sort of unbelievable, where she's like, hey, can you fly down in 24 hours to Mumbai and make the official acoustic version? Because the film is out in 3 weeks, so we have enough time to market and manage this. And then she's like, but caveat, there's no budget. So you're going to come in and do the song, and then we have to figure out how to promote it. But she's a marketing whiz. Her name is Riya Kapoor. Okay. She's the producer of this film. Veer the Wedding was the name of the film. Okay. And I came down with my dad to India, to Mumbai, basically. I had no knowledge of the area. I'd been to India 4 times my whole life since we because it was so far. Yeah. And it was we didn't have summers off really. Right. So I couldn't ever come. So I came here with my dad and I was like, we're going to do something. I sang the song. We made a DIY, no budget music video with the cast of the film, which was iconic. And then they very smartly marketed it by slowly revealing that I was here, because basically she found my video.
Then she had a big audience.
Then she posted the video everywhere, encouraged everyone she knew that were big Bollywood people to also share it, so that the internet could follow along and be like, well, this is refreshing. Who is the singer? So then I land up here and we make this video, and her sister, who was the lead actor in that movie, Sonam Kapoor, posts this story. And then she was like, guess who's in town? Then we make this music video that goes up on YouTube, becomes instantly viral. And the song went #1. So I was back at my desk job in Chicago. I worked in data, and I was watching the numbers in real time. And I get a call from her being like, you might want to think about a career change. This is not going to happen twice. So I was like, I just turned 24. Okay. I had one opportunity to kind of wing it.
Capitalize on it.
Yeah. I was like, let's
go back to the desk job.
Yeah. Because if I'm young enough to come
college,
back.
Right.
Right. I had my degree in economics. Yeah. It was going to be fine. Yeah. Yeah. And then I came here. I took that up as a career, and I've just been here ever since.
That is so cool.
And literally all started in 2007 with a cover of Miley Cyrus.
That is so cool.
Yeah. Really
and someone on YouTube.
Yeah, it's just crazy. It's me and Justin Bieber.
You were Justin Bieber.
And to be the reason I'm here in a small way, singing his cover, it's crazy too.
Wow, I love that story. It speaks to so many beautiful things about YouTube.
Absolutely.
YouTube has changed a lot since then.
Yeah.
Do you use it differently now?
As a consumer and a creator, definitely differently. As a consumer, I use it to basically replace television for me. Yeah. I love long format content, especially watching podcasts. Yep. So we get really inspired because I have a music and food podcast. So we got really inspired by watching our favorite podcasters, and we wanted to do something in that space. So my best friend Shaw and I have a show called Dish and That. And there was an option to be audio only. And we were like, no, we have to make the videos. And at some point we were like, well, who's going to watch, 30, 35 minutes? And I was like, people like me.
Right.
We stick around and
If
watch the
people
whole
are going
thing.
to listen.
Totally.
They're probably going to be more interested in watching it. Always.
Yeah. And especially with food involved.
Yes.
So it's like, then there's a visual element to us interacting with this.
Yeah.
And it was the best decision I've made recently. We have so much joy whenever we get to shoot, because when you've done a type of creation for a really long time, you can feel stuck.
Right.
And it gave us a different way to be creative in a new format, because we got to do a podcast and like sit around and talk and hang out with your best friend and eat food. So the video part of it really has been the highlight, because these videos are funny. They're so funny.
I was earlier today, we held a creator collective. A few hundred creators came by, and we were talking about collaboration between music artists and creators. And you've actually merged yourself into the combination of the collaboration. But do you do collaborations with other creators in India?
Yeah, we do. We, especially because of the podcast, we love to have guests on our shows. So whatever way we can sort of weave in the type of content or the audience that they have into our work, we make sure to do that every time, like little videos and shorts. We're like abusing shorts at this point. We're just constantly pushing out shorts because we think we're hilarious. So it's like, we don't, I don't know, we'll get the audience, but for now we're having fun.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the big ways that YouTube has changed or evolved, let's say. And clearly you're making use of them.
Yeah, and you guys were the first to do collaborations.
And YouTube is the only platform really where we're merging short form and long form. And we think of the YouTube short as the discovery vehicle.
Yeah.
That, for music at least, what we want to happen is that a person will discover a piece of music in the short because they're doing their thing, but then we want them to go to the music video, to the long form, content, the live performance. So
Tiny Desk is how I discover all of my favorite artists, because I'll watch the whole 20, 30 minute segment and then go and listen to all the songs as they were recorded in his studio.
Right.
So it's exactly what you just said.
It's the same kind of thing. Exactly.
Yeah.
Is how do you make connections between pieces of content?
Yeah.
And you were a data person. Do you use YouTube Analytics?
That was my favorite thing about being a YouTuber and being a creator on YouTube. I used to say this in my early days of moving here, because people were trying to figure out what the link could be with the data and this. I was like, guys, this is all data. Creation is data. And it was so fun to do demographic breakdowns and see it's not about what's working, but more so I actually looked at it the other way. What's my most porous space? And let's go ham on that.
Yeah.
And consistently, which I'm really, really proud of, my demographics are always very heavy on women as watchers. And it translated across all my social media. So I'm really glad that the first place I got to really take a deep dive into my demographics, my monetization, which thank you for paying creators. That's always great. All of that was really great for me to have in my hands, and it gives you a lot of control over what you're going to do next. And it doesn't leave you with that ambiguity of I feel like I'm not growing or I don't know what's happening.
Right.
Because it's just a matter of looking at numbers most of the time.
Yeah. I mean, to me, there are a lot of artists who don't access their YouTube analytics because
it's a gem, guys.
There are labels, and Vivo, others in the position of having that access. And I also think you use YouTube directly in a very hands-on way. Not all artists are as hands-on, and we encourage that. Of course, it's in all of our best practices to do so, because you just, as you said, find the gems in there of information that information is power. Information gives you
100%
a foundation to lean on, and be able to grow your audience.
That's how that transition from, English to Hindi language started. Because the minute you notice an uptick on the most basic piece of data, which is viewers, once you see that, this video made 20x more views than the last, you just open your analytics and figure out why.
Right.
And you realize that, all of my viewership was concentrated in the subcontinent. So now I have my info.
Now I know.
Now I know it's going to be India, Pakistan, the Middle East, Sri Lanka, England, Canada, where you have big South Asian populations.
Diaspora,
Yeah. So I was like, fantastic. I know what I'm doing next. I know where I'm going. But you're completely right. I think it can feel scary to have that much data at your disposal, but like make it your friend.
Yeah. I love that advice.
Yeah.
Because when YouTube analytic data is deep.
It's very deep.
And you can get lots of different cuts, and there's your views, there's your reach.
Yes.
Which includes fan uploads.
Engagement.
I assume that you have a lot of fans that upload their own covers of your music now.
Constantly. Yeah. Which is great.
Which is great. And you can monetize that too. So
I'll tell you an interesting thing that happened. It's now actually crazy. It's been 3 years since this. My friend who's an actor, Adarsh Gaurav, and I sat in my bedroom and did a cover on guitar, just, point and shoot.
Yep.
And we had no expectations for that. And we put it on across all platforms on the same day. And of course, the initial captive audience will be on your personal social media profiles. So you're like, okay, cool. The amount of growth that video had on YouTube, it goes viral. It's been 3 years, every year, twice a year. It is still trending. That one video is now the most viewed video on my entire YouTube channel.
Is there a pattern? Why does that happen?
I think it's that people make ancillary content based off of that video. So a lot of like trending pages pick up a clip of that video and say, when Adarsh says this line, or they'll make these little shorts out of us singing, which leads people to go to my YouTube page or his YouTube page and click through everything else. But for so many years, my most viewed video was something I uploaded in 2014. And it got immediately replaced as this came out. I think it's on like 7 or 8 million views. It's just us hanging out and playing a song on guitar. So it's wild. We studied all the numbers
to the authenticity.
Yeah, exactly that. And then we just made the numbers our friend. We're like, how do we, make sure we feed this audience that's come back and discovered. It was a song from the 70s.
What song was it?
It's a beautiful, so there's a genre of music called ghazal.
Okay.
And which is like slower ballads, folk based. And we picked up a song that had lost its audience. So it was kind of like introducing an entire generation. So we have 3 generations of listeners that all refer to the YouTube video because it's searchable and it's accessible.
Yeah.
So I get messages, I swear to God, even daily, people tagging me and saying, my most repeated video, my most watched video. And it'll be their grandmas, it'll be the parents, and then it'll be like 6-year-olds.
That's really lovely.
Yeah, it's wild. So
that's really lovely.
Yeah, it's crazy. It just keeps going.
I have to be one of the viewers.
Yeah,
also.
you must. It's so good.
Now I will watch that one. I've watched a lot of your music, but not that one. Okay. One challenge I think artists have today, I'm curious if you have any advice, is the constant need to be on.
Oh, yeah.
How do you deal with that?
It's tough. I feel like I have had weird relationships with how much content to put out because of this. And the minute I feel like I'm doing things for the sake of like viewership and audience retention rather than because I'm enjoying it, the content looks stiff. It doesn't feel good. And it makes, it looks directed and, fussed over. So I did that in 2016, 17, when that uptick happened. The first thing I did was I'm going to get a really nice camera and start shooting things the way that everyone else is doing it.
Right.
With like different angles and like, color correction afterwards. And it didn't land. And I remember being like, I'm kind of happy about that because I'm going to shoot with that piece of equipment, but in the exact same way I always did it before.
Yeah.
because they don't need the cutaways and the fade ins and outs. They're happy to just watch
just
one
want you.
frame.
Yes.
Yeah,
One frame full on.
exactly. But now they
Facing
can
the
see that
camera.
frame in 4K.
Right.
So that was a really great relief for me because I was so worried I wasn't keeping up. And the whole staying on and constantly adapting to the next trend, your audience feels your tiredness. I feel they see the wear in you.
Right.
They're like, and you know, we say it as like they're trying too hard or this doesn't feel like them.
Right.
But there's truth to that totally.
Yeah.
So I feel like I step away from it because I'm an actor now too. And yeah, it's wild. Yeah, I've done a lot of things.
Really exploded.
My series is coming out exactly a week from now on Netflix. Yeah.
That's so exciting on Netflix.
Yes, globally, so you can watch it. It's called The
That
Royals.
was my next question.
Yes.
What's it called?
The Royals.
The Royals.
Yes.
Okay.
And
What's it about?
it's basically a royal family going broke and some corporate people coming in and monetizing them. And helping them survive the 21st century by basically selling them.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Repurposing the royals in modern day.
I'm going to watch it.
It's really fun. It's really, really fun. And because of acting, especially because that's a very focused industry in India, Bollywood is king. And that pushes a lot of your viewership. The being on thing is probably like bigger than it's ever been for me.
Yeah.
Because musicians, we get to control everything. I get to write the words, direct the music videos if I want, direct my stage, be whoever I want to be. But I've never felt this much pressure than right now to be like, you have to create this. The moment is ripe and the timing is great and you're growing and I was like, okay.
And show up for this promo and show up for that promo.
That is this next week of my life.
I'm sure.
But it's a lot of just taking a step back and being like, I'll make content, sure.
Yeah.
But it should still feel familiar because the massive departure into this other thing will be forced and the viewers will be able to tell.
Yeah.
So just kind of just
and it's important to keep that original connection, right?
Yeah.
And then add and layer in all the new things that you're doing.
Yeah.
But not to the detriment of that, so that your original fans feel like you're...
And you get a breather. So you don't have to be on all the time.
Right.
You can choose when to be on.
Right. I love that. I love that. This has been amazing.
Yes.
We're going to wrap up, but I'm going to ask you two fun questions before we do. Age old, being a person from Chicago, you'll get this. What's the album you take on a desert island?
Ooh. Okay. Controversial opinion, but it's Late Registration by Kanye West. It's such a good album.
It's a fantastic album.
It's so good.
It is a fantastic album. What would I find in your YouTube feed? What are you watching these days?
Okay. You would find a lot of food content. Okay. Mukbangs, a lot of those. A lot of like Tiny Desk Concert.
Okay.
That's a big thing for me. A lot of live recordings by Billie Eilish and Ariana Grande of them, all over the world doing a BBC thing, this or that, because I like to study where I can take my music.
Yeah.
And how I can up my production on live.
That's really cool.
So that's usually it. It's a mix of
the Colors channel.
I love Colors. It's so nice. Guys, have me on.
Colors.
Yeah, Colors.
You should do a Colors.
Yeah, she has some pull, guys. Let's do Colors.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, this was fantastic.
Thank you for tuning in. All right. Cheers.
Awesome.
Well, shut.